Here, sit by me like you like me. Oh, there we go. Look at that. It's so cool.
You can see our Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Probably can't hear me, so now I'll move this in so everybody can hear me.
So we just barely watched the More to Love episode where they had a couple extra scenes of the last episode of Sister Wives. It was hilarious. We were dying laughing. There's a couple of things because we were like, I swear Christine looked a little intoxicated in that dinner she had with David, but then we couldn't tell. But in the bonus scenes, it's on there. Oh, we went to the chiropractor just barely too.
She looked comfortable and happy.
She did. She looked like she's having a good time. She looks like me when I'm on like 3 glasses of wine.
Mm-hmm.
So
hello, Tina.
But we just got back from the chiropractor and we were both like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Should we go live or should we not go live? And I'm like, no, let's do it. I want to talk about a lot of this stuff because it's so obnoxious. Yeah. Waiting for Corey to keep us laughing. Oh my gosh, we were laughing so hard at the comment that got made last night about Corey having somebody gave us a super chat about Corey. That was hilarious. We were dying. I'm like, oh my gosh.
She's coming down the hall and she's like, hey, handsome, how you doing? And I'm like, that's $2, please. If you're gonna call me handsome. So
yeah,
yes, we appreciate it. So my ego's been very large today. So thank you guys for all the love. So, and she has to deal with me. I'm sorry, but
I know. I'm like, great. You guys don't know the monster that you're creating that I have to deal with every day. It's exhausting. Yeah. Somebody says 3 glasses in was the best recent video. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Vancouver, you should definitely Island, keep up the live watch while drinking. It was outstanding. I know I sent it to my mom because I was like, Mom, I think I messed up. I think I drank a little bit too much. What do you think? She hasn't given me her feedback yet. So I'm like, just tell me what you think. Somebody says I'm on McKelty's Patreon and everyone mentioned collaborating with you guys. Yeah, I've gotten actually a lot of feedback about that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I would love to collaborate and talk with the kids because I feel like I resonate with them more than I do the parents. I don't know. I'd probably ask good questions for the parents too. But for the kids, I grew up. I knew exactly kind of what they were going through and how each wife was different in every kind of way. And you had an authoritarian wife who would discipline and want the other mothers and or dad to back them up. And it always didn't go well. So,
yeah, I know. I'm looking at myself in the video like I probably should have fixed my hair before we got on here. Somebody says it was fantastic video, Melanie. No, you didn't seem out of it at all. I wasn't really out of it. I just become looser in my verbiage and I don't want to call people names. And it's hard not to call Robin and Cody names sometimes because some of the stuff that comes out is just so beyond stupidity that I'm just like, where is this coming from? And then I talked to my mom for, an hour this morning, I think. And we were talking about the whole egg drop comment and she was like, I have literally never heard that. And I'm like, I haven't either. And I said, I feel like that gives a bad misrepresentation of most of the people, like most women in the AUB. My mom's like, it sounded adulterous. I'm like, yeah, that's what it sounded like to me too. I mean, you do live in adulterous society.
Exactly. So, house wrecking within the AUB is just called polygamy. So that's all it is. So out in the real world, it's called a house or a family wrecker or house wrecker, but within polygamy, it's just another wife. So.
Oh, love this. Wow. Finally able to see a live rather than a rewatch. Love your content. You two are amazing. And for what you've been through in your life, you're doing a great job. From Bonnie, Scotland. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know all you people that live in Scotland. My best friend just went to Scotland and stayed in Edinburgh for 2 weeks and she just showed me all the pictures, and she just had so much fun. Her daughter, she actually left polygamy too. And her daughter took her as a Mother's Day gift for Mother's Day last year, or this year, I guess.
We apologize for our Utah, what is it?
Lack of pronunciation.
Yeah.
Accent.
Accent from Utah. Yeah.
Wondered if you both think that polygamy makes women stay in limerence indefinitely because they're never secure. I would say yes. I would say that's 100% very accurate.
Yeah, they're always working to please their husband or please the priesthood leaders among them. So
oh yay, Rosa's on. So we have one of our mods on, Rosa. Thank you. I love, my mom absolutely adores your answers.
What was that question? Did you just
right here. Could you imagine walking up to a couple and saying, the guys makes your eggs drop? Yikes. I did. I walked by Corey last night. I'm like, hey babe, you're making my eggs drop right now. And he's like, absolutely freaking not. Our baby's 18. Get out of here. I was like, come on. Oh, just saw you folks were on. Hopefully didn't miss much. Nope. We just barely came on. We haven't even talked about anything important. Yes. Have you guys watched the Pop Psych interview with McKelty and Tony? Yes, we did. We talked about it last night on our book club. And honestly, I would love to have, we have never interviewed anyone before. But I would love to talk to Tony and McKelty. I think that would be so much fun. So my sister did reach out to them and gave them our contact information. So hopefully, oh, do we have somebody on here from Jerusalem? Oh, that's all. I've been to Jerusalem. One of the founders of, a couple of the founders of Principal Voices that Christine was on, she actually even thanked one of my good friends at the very back of the book, Ann Wild. And I adore Ann. We all went, a bunch of polygamists went to Israel back in '99. And it was a good trip. There was probably like 60 of us, and we all went to Jerusalem and Jordan, and went and saw the four corners of Egypt and Syria and Israel and Jordan. It was great. And Ann Wild was on that trip with me.
And this was when you were still part of the AUB though, too, right?
Yeah. I was still part of the AUB. I still wore garments. Do you know how hard garments were to wear in that kind of weather? It was insanity. Let's see. Okay. I just finished watching The Handmaid's Tale. Wow. It was very traumatizing. I love The Handmaid's Tale, but that triggers me in a way that is different. Like Sister Wives just frustrates me and makes me like, oh my gosh, these people are so, Handmaid's Tale is a whole different level of, I feel like, trauma, because I felt that way so much. Because I felt like I was just a vessel for children. And so I loved the Handmaid's Tale series, but it is definitely, it was definitely very traumatizing. Rosa says, I'm pretty sure my sister was on that trip with you. I'm curious who your sister is. I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe you can send that to me on Facebook Messenger and tell me who your sister is. I think I might have an idea, but I'm not sure. And if it is who I think it is, one of my dad's other wives lives with her right now. And so I could be.
Daughters of a Cult was
I just finally watched that show, Daughters of a Cult.
And I like watching shows like that because it's people's point of view coming from what would be a sister cult. Every AUB has, I like listening to each and every cult's opinion of the other cult. So AUB thinks that the FLDS were marrying all these 12-year-olds and marrying family members and things like that. Those cults were thinking, well, we're just about AUB's just a bunch of wife swappers, and they're not wrong, because a wife could get released and marry somebody else within it, and so they considered them all AUB's just a bunch of wife swappers. And So yeah, it's interesting to hear all of the different opinions of the different cults about the other cults. So it's some fun stuff to listen to each kid's opinion of what they were told about our cult. So,
Right. It's
or
funny.
the cult we grew up in. It's not our cult.
Yeah, not our cult. Oh yeah, I think McKelty and Tony should talk with you guys in private. They can open up more. Oh, absolutely. We would have a long discussion with, not long, but we would have a discussion with them before we got on Alive, because there's just too many parallels between the experiences that they've had and what we've had. So we would absolutely chat with them. But Daughters of a Cult, Anna and Cecilia, I've actually talked to them both, and I love Cecilia. We connected on pretty much all social media because we've been chatting back and forth, and I'll post something and then she'll email me and say, oh my gosh, what about this? And so we'll just banter back and forth. But I didn't really know a lot of LeBarons. And then a bunch of us Plig kids that had already left the Polygamous group, we would get together and play poker ever so often. And a bunch of LeBarons came to one of our poker games, and we would banter back and forth. Your prophet killed our prophet. And then I'm like, don't bring, not me, but some of the other kids would be like, don't be bringing your guys's, crazy shit to our poker game. Let's just all play and have fun. And so we actually got to know quite a few of the LeBaron kids that are kids after that.
No blood atonement allowed here.
Yeah.
This poker game.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to try to get, you know what? Shoot, I didn't slow down the comments. Let me just go do that really quick. I don't know if I can now that we've started. Damn it. I even have the note right here, but I forgot about that. So let's just see if I can slow it down. I don't know if I can. Just so that we're not like overwhelmed with questions, because we want to make sure that we can answer all your questions. Okay, there. I think I got it. We'll see. Let's see. My heart hurt when the interview with McKelty was corrected for learning how to discern for herself Robin's intentions. I went through that in my life, and I think she's wise. And I do too. When I was listening to that part of the interview, it just made me reflect so much on my own experience, because I had a wife, my dad had a wife that came in, and I felt like she preyed upon me in that way, where she treated me as if I was her very best friend. And I felt like she just used me to get information about my mom, to help her that way. So, okay. Oh, thanks, Marie Baker. She says, I just saw a message. It did go on. Yeah. We want to be able to answer a lot of questions and just chat. And that way the comments aren't flying. Hi from Sydney, Australia. Yay, I'm finally seeing you guys live. Woohoo, I love you guys. You have helped me with my mental health. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. We love that, because we were even talking about that today. We've been going on a deep dive. It's funny because we work together, and so we're with each other 24/7. I don't know how you don't get sick of me, but we were talking about some of that earlier today, some of the different healings that we've done, and some of the ways, like one of the things that we talked about, we were talking with someone else about it. And one of the things that they had said is, that's incredible. When we got divorced, we did what was called nesting, and our children stayed in the family home. And then when it was Corey's time with the kids, he'd come and move in. When it was my time with the kids, I would come and move in, and Corey would move out. And we did that for about a year. A little over a year. Because we didn't want our children to be displaced because of our mental instabilities. And so we tried to keep it as normal for our children as possible. And they were, the person we were talking to was asking us questions about, how does being raised in this cult affect your life now? And that was one of the things that came up for that. And when we said, we don't want to project this onto our children, so this is how we tried to handle it. Our divorce was 100% because we just didn't know how to process through some of our trauma.
Yeah, I felt like that some of the reasons we were getting divorced was also because of some of the things that happened when we were raised.
Mhm.
The what a marriage looked like to us as children, they weren't healthy marriages. And so we decided when we were getting divorced to get advice from marriage counselors,
Right.
from people outside of any religious base, and we took their advice. They asked us what we were trying to accomplish. They recommended nesting. We're like, yes, let's try
Yeah, let's do that.
nesting. And we were working through up to our divorce, and we were working through uh, teachings that we had been taught, examples of marriages that we had seen, and that we just by nature had incorporated into our marriage, which was causing our marriage to come apart. And it
Yeah.
eventually did. So
Yeah.
it was amazing to watch and get advice from professionals outside of any religious backings that we were a part of. We didn't want, when we hired a marriage counselor, we were very specific that we didn't want them religiously based at all. And we took actual psychological advice and used that in our divorce proceedings, and had what would have probably been considered a very clean divorce, and then worked on ourselves, healed ourselves. And
I was like, I have masculine energy
Yep.
issues because I, now
Yep.
in my second divorce, and like I am 100% at fault here and have a bunch of masculine energy issues that I want to get healed so that I don't do this again. And so, and so we didn't want to sell our family home. That was part of, we built this home to raise our children in 23 years ago. So we didn't want to have to sell the home until our youngest was older. And so, we just tried to make it work. And then at one point we did both live in the home. Our house is a little bit bigger. So I lived in the basement. Corey lived upstairs, and we just made it work. And our kids loved it because our kids weren't displaced for school. They were able to go to school all the time, and they were just in their place. So if they had a hard day with us getting divorced, then they could go to their space that was familiar to them.
Yep.
And that was the whole point of wanting to keep them in their home. It's like, if we can't get our shit together, let's at least
not mess up their stuff.
So. Right. So thank you so much
Tea
for
Party.
that super chat, Tea Party. Thank you. We appreciate that. Let's see. Somebody says, wow, I've never heard of nesting. Very wise.
We never had either.
We hadn't either.
We had never heard of it, but we basically hired a professional marriage counselor and divorce. We went to some divorce classes, some of the best classes, because it taught me.
They're state mandated divorce classes. So we went through those. And
they were excellent because they said, hey, your kids didn't choose this, so really work on that. And then you guys can work out your stuff on the side. And so we really listened to advice from professionals, and
I think that's one of the reasons why we were able to work things out at the end, was because we tried to treat each other with as much respect, because we knew that this was just a brokenness within us, because we were both raised in a cult and we didn't know what clean communication was. We didn't know what healthy marriages were. And again, we don't want to pass that trauma onto the next generation, or even the next generation, so that they have trauma to pass on to their generation. So we tried to do everything we could. We never spoke ill of each other. We never, and so I think that made it a lot easier for us to be able to work things out. And I love this comment. So, whoops, I thought that was the basement wife comment. So that's hilarious. Oh, you were the basement wife.
Well, she was a basement ex-wife.
I was the basement ex-wife. I was, but we have 6 bedrooms in our home. So I was able to just move all my stuff down there, and we lived there. So it worked really good. And
I had watched, I mean, my dad had 9 wives. He didn't die with 9 wives. So he went through divorces, and I'd watched ugly divorces, and and it was hard on us kids too. So we did not want to follow in the footsteps. I felt like as I was taking a lot of the marriage counseling advice, I
Mhm.
was like, oh my goodness, I am duplicating a lot of the marriages. Even though I'm just in a single marriage, I'm behaving as a husband or a father the same way my dad did. Instead of talking through things, I was stepping out into my where I wouldn't talk to anybody. I didn't have another wife to go to, so I just wouldn't talk to anybody. And so we broke down our communication. And so we had to rebuild that up. That was part of my healing through the divorce. And if I
Yeah.
was going to get married again, I wanted to have open communication. So I learned a whole bunch of stuff through the divorce that made me a better father and a better husband
Well, and that's one of the things we
moving
were
on.
talking about earlier today is that in polygamy, so many times the example that we saw is if you are upset with a wife, you just go to another wife's house.
Mhm.
So there's not that
Mm.
communication. So we were mirroring the style of parenting that we saw, or
Or
not parenting,
marriage.
marriage that we saw. And so, we'd have issues. Corey would shut down. He wouldn't talk. And then I took it personally, like something's wrong with me. And so our levels of communication just broke down because that's how we were, and what was hard, I think so hard about it is that in my first marriage, that's what I expected because that's what I saw too.
Mhm.
And we weren't madly in love with each other. It was just like, oh, okay, we're married. Oh, we're going to do this eternal thing forever, apparently. And there wasn't like this deep, passionate love where I felt like you and I had this deep, passionate love when we got married.
Mhm.
And so then it was like, when the communication style started breaking down and going like what we see other polygamous people do, it felt more offensive. It was more hurtful because we didn't expect that from
Mhm.
each other. And so it was like, wait a second, we're the exception to the
We're
rule.
monogamous.
Yeah,
We
like
don't have
so it
that
was
problems, but
so much more offensive. And now it's like now that's one of our biggest things is communication.
yeah.
I wanted to come back to this. I love this. I love this. Oops, come on. I love this. Thank you, Myers' mom, for sharing this. She says, when I was pregnant with our first three, their father and I made a clear, conscious, non angry decision about how we wanted custody to be if it didn't work out. And nobody goes into a marriage thinking
Mm-mm.
it's not going to work out. But a lot of times we do mirror what we see. If and in polygamy, that is 100% how it is. The husband doesn't feel like dealing with it, so he just doesn't. He just goes to the next wife's house. And
Mhm.
and that just doesn't work when you're in a monogamous situation. And so I love that. Did you guys deal with parentification? Absolutely. So much.
Mhm.
I feel like that was one of the hardest things that I'm still going through it to this day because there's so much trauma going on in my family currently right now. And I don't always know, the lines get blurred for me sometimes. I'm not the parent. And yet I've been so parentified growing up that my siblings come to me as if I am the parent. And then I stupidly open my mouth and then it gets to the point where it's like, well, you're not my mom, screw off. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll screw off. I'll just go over here and screw off by myself. I don't need to be in your upsetness. So it gets a little bit, that gets a little hard because I don't know where those boundaries are because I always want to show up for my siblings, and especially with all the trauma that's going on right now in my family. Um, and it makes it really hard to go, you know what? Not my circus, not my monkeys, not my problem, because I love my siblings and I want to do that. Um, let's see, what brought you back together after the divorce?
Marriage counseling for me. I mean,
I thought it was just because
well,
I was so amazing.
you were my best friend. So,
Yeah.
but as I was going through marriage counseling, when we first got married, I did not even have a clue what marriage was
Yeah.
supposed to look like, what I even wanted in a marriage. What I didn't. It was just, hey, we should get married. That's the teachings or whatever. Should have kids. What does marriage mean? And so our marriage counselor had me write out a list of what I was looking for in a marriage, what it
Mhm.
meant to me.
Yeah.
And so when we got divorced, I was like, okay, if I get remarried again,
Yes, my eggs were dropping.
this is what I want it to look
Yeah.
like. And so it was and so when we did come back together, because we hadn't uh, been rude to each other and everything, it was like we came back together with a conversation of,
Yeah.
this is what I'm expecting, and this is what you were expecting out of it. And same thing, if we ever didn't feel like it was working, we've already figured out how to separate. And
Yeah.
yeah, but
Well, and I feel like we're a classic case of you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's too late. But because I feel like we tried to show each other as much respect as we could through the process. I mean, there was some disrespect, obviously. I mean, we didn't get there just by, being nice and loving each other. And so but I feel like it was definitely a classic case of, oh, hell, that was actually way better than we gave it credit for. And now that we have more tools to learn how to communicate, but these are some of the residuals that happen. It is scientifically proven that when you are raised in a cult, your brain is damaged at a level that is harder to heal. And it really never fully heals when you go through something like this. It's a long-term PTSD.
You have to re-educate, regrow
Right.
your brain.
And so those were some of the effects of our marriage. We had a great marriage. People were stunned when they found out we were getting divorced. And because we got along so well, but our lack of having skills in being able to communicate and mirroring what we saw marriages happen. And so, the husband just takes off and goes and the wife is like, peace out, then I'm going over here. And so we've talked about the AUB being a wife swapping group, and it is very true. The wife will just run to the priesthood and say, I want to release. I need to be over in this man's family. And then there's all this swapping going on in marriages and that's what we saw. Life got too hard. We had medical debt up to our eyeballs with a sick baby. Life got financially hard, and everything about life just got to the point where it was so exhausting. We had a couple deaths in our family, and it was just like one thing on top of the other, and we both just shut down. And so
complex PTSD.
Yeah, complex PTSD.
That just learning about this, we've it is the way we grew up from our childhood being in that post-traumatic stress syndrome. It was miserable,
right?
And so we have been healing since we were healing the whole time. So and
so
we weren't given tools on how to keep a marriage together from the way we were raised. That we were continually watching marriages fall apart all the time, and so it was a normal for us.
And so that is one of the sad parts about it. Is this is supposed to be, we were raised in, this is an eternal commitment that you're making, and yet it was like, and again, this is where the AUB makes up the rules as they go along, and it depends on who you are, it depends on your last name of what is reality for you. And it's like, if you have the right name and the right connections, you can go to the leadership and say, I'm unhappy, I want out of this marriage, and then you just get married to somebody else. But if you don't have the right name, or that you don't have the right connections, then it's like you're in that for all eternity. Suck it up, buttercup. And then you're just stuck in a lifeless, loveless marriage. And let's see. Okay, I'm internally curious about the man who left 96 kids. Did it cause mass chaos in the actual church services? It did. I would say not services. I mean,
not the services. They just basically.
I wish I knew the full exact story of it. I only know the rumors of what was happening. Rumors that my parents have told me too. It's not like I'm just getting it from nobody.
Because this happened when we were little kids. So, And basically, as I understand it, the man was excommunicated from the AUB.
He ran off with a younger.
Well, he was being excommunicated, so he chose
He was
to
sleeping with his
leave.
wives before he married them.
Yeah, chose to leave. He got excommunicated for that.
Mm-hmm.
So he took his youngest wife and left all of the other wives and all of the kids still in the community. And so then the priesthood leaders are like, well, we got to have men step up. And so then they started to ask the women who were still there, who still stayed in the AUB, is there another man within there? And then they got to kind of look around and ask different families to if the woman was interested in different families within there. And then that wife would marry into that family and he'd take the kids in. So, but the guy just left. And so he was just like, yep, okay, I'm done with this, and took his youngest wife and left.
Yeah.
So
one of his wives married my dad, and she had 3 children. And there was one of her kids is 4 hours older than me. So I have a sister 4 hours older than me. And Rulin Allred delivered her and then ran to my birth and delivered me, both of us on the same day. And my dad married her mom when we were 4. We were almost 5 years old when he married her. So I was raised with her our entire lives. We don't look at each other. I never looked at us any differently. But she had the 3 children and never ever had children with my dad, not for lack of trying. She just wasn't able to have any kids with my dad. And but a lot of those wives were dispersed amongst a lot of the other men. And I mean, that family is huge now in the AUB, that quite a few of the kids are still members. And that was a really traumatic experience for a lot of people. And from that mom, I have my older sister from that mom. She passed away back in 2000, I believe 2012, from alcoholism. And then my sister that was 4 hours older than me passed away. In next week will be 3 years. She passed away from cancer. So those are 2 of my 3 siblings that have passed. Did your dad try to use your divorce to pull you back into the AUB? Oh, 100%. My dad's tried every tactic he can to get us to come back into the AUB. But Corey, knowing the way that things were demanded and expected, went and asked my dad if he could court me, which I did not approve of. I did not want him to do that because, I mean, I'm a mom with 3 kids. I've been out on my own for 10 years. And my dad told Corey no, to stay away from me, and that I would stay married to my ex-husband, or I would be marrying a man in the AUB that already had wives and children that would just take care of me and my children. And I was like, yeah. So I was almost 27 when this happened, or 26 when this happened. And that's the first time I've ever stood up to my dad, because my dad was like, I told this young man to stay away from you. And I was like, you did what? You don't get to make decisions for me anymore. And so that was the first time in my life that I had stood up to my dad and told him no, that he wasn't going to make that decision.
And to be honest with you, I felt like that before we got divorced, he'd invited back, but me being excommunicated from the AUB made it so that I was uneligible to marry other people within the AUB. They excommunicated me for a reason. Any female within the AUB, with me being excommunicated, I was not a viable option to be husband material.
Right.
They shouldn't be marrying outside of the AUB. And so by excommunicating me, they were basically saying, you shouldn't be marrying this guy. And Melanie left the AUB and chose to marry me. And so I felt like invited back. I told him I absolutely wasn't interested. But when we got divorced, I wasn't invited.
Did he do the same with your divorce from Corey? Yes and no. At that point, I was a lost cause, but Corey wasn't. So yes, I wouldn't say he invited you back in, but all of a sudden you became a son to him.
Oh, okay.
Where he started loving you like a son. I'm curious. I want to answer this one too. Thank you for answering. I wonder if that affected how Mary or Christine viewed polygamy, the man leaving with all those children. So some of those children that were left actually came on to Sister Wives. They have been on the show, and the Browns were friends with them. And because I mean, this was a huge family. This affected.
They married into a lot of families.
This affected hundreds of families. It wasn't just his one. I mean, 96 kids. And I don't know. I'm throwing out 96. I don't know the exact amount. I don't think anyone knows the exact amount, to be honest. But it affected so many families because then so many of these wives were reassigned or redispersed to other men. And so, yeah, a lot of those kids were, they've been on the Sister Wives show now. So
one of them has. So
I don't know. I kind of feel like there was another one too, but we haven't seen all the episodes, so we don't know.
The other one was on Seeking Sister Wives.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. It did affect a lot of different families. And the sad thing about it was the guy who left was one of the leaders, and he was revered as one of the, one of the strongest people. He actually helped found Pinesdale, Montana, where Robin is from and Preston's from. He was one of the founders and leaders up there in Montana.
Well, they had started Pinesdale, and he was sent up there by Ruland to create it to become a united order.
Right.
So he was switching it from just a community where everybody lived and paid tithing. Now they were creating the united order where everybody, they were inviting people up there that had different skill sets to put into the community. You would, they had a community store.
Yeah.
So we would put in all of our items and get a credit, and then we would do trade and get milk and get cheese and beef and all of that stuff. So
so he was
became the united order.
Yeah, he was considered one of the, like, no one really expected that. But that's the problem with this religion, is there's so much corruption at such a core level that these men in the leadership, these men become the leaders, and then they think they're infallible and they can do whatever they want to. And then you add the second callings and all the other stuff that they believe, that then they become next to Christ, and you don't get to judge them anymore because they're this high up. And to me, it's just it's blasphemy and sacrilegious to the level that these men elevate themselves to. And so they don't need to be accountable to the rest of us. I mean, everyone's seeing this with Cody, and you're seeing a microscopic level with Cody Brown because he was never in leadership. And so you're seeing just this small little portion. Then you get a leader and they are infallible. They can do whatever they want. So, let's see. Yes, we are remarried. We got divorced in 2016 and we got remarried in 2018. And so we took a couple of years to heal some stuff that we each had broken in us. And just decide, but we both stayed single during that 2-year period. We both stayed single and just decided that it was worth working on. Let's see. What's the point of reassigning a woman to a different husband? It seems like the husbands don't do much of anything anyways, other than get them pregnant. Well, there you go. Because the AUB needs more people, more
tithe payers.
It's not like they support them that well. So the woman who married my dad, she came in with the 3 kids, and my dad never really financially supported her. She financially supported herself, and then gave my dad leftover, like helped financially support his family. And so he didn't really do anything for her.
So taking on some worker bees and so he didn't really show up for her, and pretty much her or her children. He didn't really he didn't show up for her at all. He didn't pull a Cody Brown and have them what is it? He didn't. What did Cody Brown do with the 3 kids?
Legally adopt
them. He didn't do that. They kept their but he did the old spiritual blessing and gave them a name now, but he didn't want to do anything illegal. So, because then he would have had to legally marry her
Yeah.
to do that, and he wasn't going to do
So
that.
my dad has married 2 different women with 3 children when he married both of them, and never legally married either of the women,
Or
never
adopted their
legally
kids.
adopted the kids, but he did spiritually change the
Give the-
children's names.
And that's the blessing that Cody gives, a new name and a blessing. That's what they do in the AUB. So,
and we haven't watched that episode yet, but we did see a preview for it. And I felt like that is something that I'm surprised that they put on TV. I felt like they put that on TV just to give a big FU to Preston Jessup, which I think is really tragic.
Yep.
Okay, I wanted to answer this. Oh, no, come on. When Robin went to see the prophet for consulting, would she be there to snitch on the priesthood leader or about the wives? I wonder if the wives wouldn't that be overstepping her leader?
So, yes, you should be going to your priesthood leader, but you can go if you don't feel like that he's doing the things right or he's having trouble. She can go step over, because that the prophet is the higher priesthood leader and can guide her husband into doing the proper things. And so, yes, it doesn't work in real life, but in the AUB, yes, she can go and complain to the priesthood leaders about her husband's. Then the priesthood leaders go talk to the husband, get his side,
set him straight.
Set him straight.
Set straight.
Exactly. And so, no, that is a thing. A wife, if she doesn't feel like her husband's doing the right thing, can make a complaint to the priesthood leaders, and they can either correct the man or give the wife a release. So
yeah. So it's definitely, and I think that this is another reason why Cody was so upset when these women left, because he was used to worker bees. This is very common. It's like, you don't question me. You don't question where I spend the money. You don't question where the family money goes. You just go to work, put your head down, and shut up. And I have literally heard those words come out of some of these men's mouth.
Well, and
shut up and stop talking.
If the wife starts asking questions, then she's a troubled wife. She's not trusting in her priesthood leaders, and so that she could get reprimanded from that too.
Yeah,
by the priesthood leaders.
My first divorce, I knew a lot of what was happening with our finances because we owned our own company, and I was heavily involved in the accounting part of that. And so I knew what was happening, and he still walked away with 67% of the marital assets. I got what was left over, which was, I did get 2 homes. We had 2 different homes at the time, only because my name was on title. I would not have gotten that otherwise. But I had women coming up to me going, how did you do that? How did you get anything? And I said, well, because I paid attention to what was happening. I paid attention to what was going on. I knew the bookwork. And I said, you've got to do this, and I don't want to be bothered with that. Then don't be mad when you walk out of a relationship with no child support, when you walk out of a relationship with no assets. And so this is where I know I've been criticized for being too hard on some of the women that come out of polygamy, but that's where some of my frustration comes from, is a lot of times they just don't want to know. They just want to raise their kids, and they don't want to have anything to do with, the logistics of life. They just want to raise their children and be good moms. That's it. And so then they get screwed in the end. And so that's why I feel like another reason that Cody was so offended when these wives left is because, like, don't question me. Don't question where I spend this money. Don't question all of this. That's not your job. Your job is to put your head down, go to work, give us a storyline for the show so that the show can continue to keep going. And then let's move forward. So
go up to, I wanted to answer that one. Yep.
Okay. But then if Robin's seen the prophet, nothing stops her from going back and twisting it to make herself look good. That happens all the time.
There is a reason that she went to see the prophet. She is on first. Good. She's there first. She's giving her version of the story, and she can say to the other wives that she is righteous enough that the prophet is sitting down and talking with her and guiding her. And so then that gives her also an excuse to go back to the family and say, the prophet told me that we should be doing this, or doing guiding the family, and she's probably talking to Cody about it. The prophet said we should do this. Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
that's a way for her to have backing from the prophet to push the family towards whatever her certain goals are.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's a reason she's talking to the prophet. So, and it's probably because Cody doesn't want to listen to them. It could have been other wives talking to the prophet too, but Robin wants to get her version of the story out there. And she's probably talking to the prophet, telling her version of the story, how hard she's working on keeping the family together, things like that, because Mary's talking to the prophet too, going, hey, this guy's not even showing interest. And she's probably saying, and I've been trying to get him, and Cody's not wanting to talk to the prophet because he's not going to be bossed around. He's already being bossed around by other wives. So,
Yep.
There's a reason she went to the prophet, and that's so that she can stay in good standing. Number one, get her version of the story over the one she's been telling on here, that she's the most perfect sister wife, always advocating for all of the wives.
I know. When Cody said that, Robin's just a special soul. She advocates for all of my wives' relationships. What? No, she doesn't.
And somebody said here that Robin or Cody called
Robin a prophet. Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, I don't think he would have. I mean, he would have said other things like she speaks to God. She's spiritual. She's close to God, but it would be almost against his religious teachings to call her a prophet, because a woman within their group cannot be a prophet. Right. So,
is the phrase "egg"? Oh, son of a gun! That went away before I could read it.
Thanks, Pam's crafty heart.
Is the phrase egg dropping a Robin thing or an AUB polygamy thing? It was creepy as. Yeah, it is not an AUB thing. I was talking to my mom about this morning, and I was just saying, this just puts such a bad light on all of these polygamous women, because this is not, it is not an AUB thing. I've never heard that expression before.
It's her mom, Alice's thing. And and Robin's picking it up and excusing her behavior of going after married men within the AUB. So looking around, she's still looking. So she's still looking for a worthy, righteous, polygamous man who has 3 other wives or 2 other wives, where she can get her kingdom in heaven. So
yeah. And thank you so much. Welcome to being a member, Pam. Yep. Thank you so much. I just posted a members only video this morning, so make sure you check that out. Thank you. I just don't see any benefit for a woman to be in this lifestyle. The benefit is that you get into heaven, because the belief system is that women cannot get themselves into heaven. You have to have a priesthood holder to get you into heaven. So that's the benefit.
And we were talking about this earlier too. Part of a cult is a charismatic leader, and the AUB has not had a charismatic leader that has been bringing women and or men into the AUB since probably the 70s, 80s. They had some charismatic leaders, but the last couple leaders are the opposite of that. And people have been leaving in droves. That's why they're so frustrated with us talking out, is because people are listening and leaving in droves from the AUB. AUB's count is down. And so the women that are in the AUB that are believing this lifestyle have been taught this since birth, that this is the only way that they're going to get into heaven. They shouldn't be looking anywhere else, and they should live long and suffer. Most women from outside of the AUB aren't going, hey, this is an amazing lifestyle, let's get into it. When you're seeing the real pain and the real struggle that's part of it. And so, they need a new charismatic leader to start to build up their community again. And they have failed in that in the last, I would say the last at least 3 leaders have been anything but charismatic. So,
right. Okay, let's see. Mel, do you think those women who don't want to figure out the logistics of daily life feel that way because they have been programmed to think they are not capable of doing those things?
Yep.
100%. That's exactly why they do it.
You're nodding.
That is a man's job. This is your job. Don't mix the two. Stay in your own lane. That's exactly why they do it. And I felt the same way for years. I mean, I didn't graduate high school. I had a baby and I felt like I was incapable, but I don't know. My ex-husband just pissed me off one too many times. And I was like, that's it. Let's go. I'm done with
Mhm.
this. So, Melanie, because you are the only spiritual wife, is that why you could get a common law marriage divorce? If he had a second wife, would that have made it more difficult to get a divorce? So in the state of Utah, you have to be married or together for 7 years. There's different criterias that you have to meet. Your friends and family have to believe you were married. You are known by that last name. You
You
are
you had 3 kids
Yeah, we had
with the
3
father
children
on the
together.
birth certificate.
Yep, we had bought a house together.
Yeah,
So we had a bunch of identifying factors that identified me as a wife.
common law married.
And I didn't know what common law marriage was. I had no idea. I didn't know how to get divorced, and there was a lot of police involvement in my divorce with him because he was so controlling and demanding, and what is that word where he thinks he has ownership of me, and so that's why he was like he owned me, and how dare I walk away from him. So there was a lot of police involvement. It actually took a police officer at one point when there was a lot of physical violence that happened. And the police officer told me how to go get a protective order and then told me to file for common law divorce.
Educating
Yeah, I had no idea.
little polygamous a little polygamous girl that didn't know anything about laws or
Mhm.
anything like that. And it took somebody like that to sit down and talk to her and go, hey, these are available to you. So
Yeah.
that's what we've been trying to do too, is educate people within the AUB, these men and women that have been raised in this since birth and don't know any. I didn't know a lot of laws or things that we could do growing
Yeah,
up.
I had no idea.
Mm,
So this is my mom. Thanks, Mom. Many women trust that their man has integrity. Sadly, most don't.
yep.
They do. They trust that the man is going to do what's best for the family. So okay, let's get back over to here.
Oh yeah, I like
Yeah.
Heather's too.
Thank you, Heather, for
Thank
that
you.
super chat. It says we still can't put super chats up on the screen. I know they're working on it, but do you think men are set up to fail in this religion since if they get into a real world, they are unable to cope or function with real life?
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
The men are
So
just as much victims in this situation as others.
yeah, and most of them don't know what to do. To be honest,
Possessive. Yes, he's possessive. Thank
yeah,
you.
most of them don't know what to do. They get into this situation. There is these spiritual or religious divorces that go on, and they're like, all right, I we're just going to go leave and go out in the world and take one wife with us. And so,
Yeah.
and that sucks because some of the kids are, well, their mom's still a part of it. And so yeah, there it's hard on the whole family. And it is. I do feel like absolutely I left or I was excommunicated, but left the AUB, but I was still set up to fail in my first
Yeah.
marriage. So I had to learn how marriages really worked and how to have open communication with my wife and my kids, and not just to, because a lot of men do that. This gets overwhelming, and so they'll go to a wife that they feel like that they can are at peace with, but eventually, honestly, I mean, look at Cody and Robin now. He's not at peace just being married to her.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's a setup to fail for everybody involved, men and women. So,
Right.
especially if men start to question the priesthood leadership too. Women,
Well, and
so
the thing that I feel so sorry about for some of these men is that they're taught this their whole life. So then they get a wife and they're so in love with her, right? And now they're taught that they're supposed to get another one. And then they feel like they're cheating on the first wife because they're so in love with this wife, but now they have to do this. So they get another one and then they get another one. And then they're so deep in it that how do they get out? What do
mhm.
they do? They don't have it. Like they don't feel like Cody expressed. They don't feel like they can just walk away from their wives. And so what do? It takes a nervous breakdown. It takes something triggering and that's why a lot of them put their wives out to pasture is because they don't know what to do. and it's too overwhelming. And you have these women who are never happy with you. They're always upset. They're always complaining. You have 5 dozen children you can't financially support. And I mean, the overwhelm that these men must go through is just, it's unreal. I wanted to answer this one. Mel, did you have an actual wedding ceremony? I would presume some sort of religious ceremony that was not registered as a marriage in the state. So yes, when you are, there is the spiritual marriage, and you hear the sister wives talk about the spiritual marriage. That's what I did. I did have a public wedding reception where, in fact, Corey was at my wedding reception because he was dating my ex-husband's sister at the time, and I didn't know Corey. But he did bring her to my wedding. He is in some of my weddings.
I've been to every one of her weddings. So.
All 3 of them. But yeah, so he was there, and I have pictures of that up on our Instagram if you wanted to check that out. I posted some pictures of my wedding with my first husband because I was 17. It was a week after my birthday. And then we went through it's called an endowment house in the AUB. The Mormon church is called a temple. And you go through the entire ceremony. It's an all-day process. Everyone in the AUB gets married on the same day. And once a month, they hold a marriage ceremony. So everyone gets married on that same day. And so I did that. I actually even have a video I think I have it on Instagram, that explains, I was a brand new wife. Obviously, I was 17, he was 25, but there was another couple going through the marriage ceremony that day with a second wife. And I got to watch that process, and I was terrified because the first wife was hysterical. She was just like, she was inconsolable. And it was traumatizing for me as a barely 17-year-old watching this process happen. And then the second wife and the husband left to go on the honeymoon and left the first wife there in the building. And she was hysterical. It was horrible to watch.
I do owe her an 11-day honeymoon.
Hell yeah, you do. Let's see. Yeah, this is why, if you notice, when someone has a personality disorder, it describes as suffers from narcissistic personality disorder, for example, because they get in the real world and not God's world. Yeah. That is very, very true. Let's see. Did you see any that were going by?
Yeah. Somebody said that there was one asking about the men in the AUB. I like the police officer one too.
Oh yeah. No, there are no police officers in the AUB.
Well,
that I'm aware of.
There are. So I have a niece that's a police officer, and there are.
They've left the AUB,
but they've left the AUB, and it's interesting too, as they go through the police force and they learn a lot about how to be a police officer, domestic violence, things like that. A lot of so I know a lot of police officers that were born and raised in the AUB, but are not a part of it anymore, and that are helping other people within the group, educating them to get out. So, so yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. Your sister says, being raised in AUB, do you think you were raised to be able to self-regulate? If not, what advice do you suggest? I wouldn't say that it was self-regulation. It was coping. We were raised with coping mechanisms, is what I would say. So this is another thing we were talking about yesterday when Corey was laughing about Robin and her eggs. And this is how, the expression
humor is our
walking on eggshells, because she dropped those eggs all over the floor, right? So when you're raised in a cult like this, your nervous system is never regulated, and you're always in constant fear or shame or guilt, and you don't know who's going to come in the room and be angry with you next, or because you're being disciplined by multiple parents. And so your nervous system doesn't ever fully regulate, and you don't know how to regulate that. You just cope with it. And so you learn a bunch of coping mechanisms. And then as you get older, then you got to go to therapy to figure out how to unwind some of those coping mechanisms and turn them into learning how to regulate your emotions And I feel like we did a pretty good job of regulating our emotions. This is why people were so stunned when we got divorced, because we did a very good job of learning to regulate our emotions, but we didn't do a very good job of communicating our own needs or communicating what we needed. And so that was partly, I feel like, where our breakdown was, is because we regulated some of our feelings, but then we threw coping mechanisms on top of that, and we did not have clear communication. And so, yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Rosa says, I stopped attending polygamous weddings and receptions many years ago. It's just too hard to watch. It is. It's so hard because you know what they're walking into, and they're doing it doe-eyed, hoping for the best. And you just never know if you're going to get a wife that comes in there and destroys your entire family.
Well, and also I've married family members, and they didn't want any of the verbiage that they wanted me, and I go through what I'm going to say to marrying them, but they didn't want any of the verbiage that is spoken within the AUB to be obedient to your priesthood leader,
to love and
to
obey.
love and obey, and to all of these verbiages. They're like, no, we don't want any of that stuff in there, because they've seen or they've heard, or they may have been married before where they were being, and it didn't feel comfortable to them when they were first getting married, because you don't, unless you educate yourself, you don't know what you're walking into. You're just getting married. You're going into their temple or their thing, and then you're being told what you need to say.
Yeah.
You don't have any say in, well, wait a minute, I don't want to agree to that. And because everybody's agreeing to the same words, the same agreements, the same handshakes, and the same covenants that everybody has to follow along on the same thing. And a lot of people come out of that and like, yeah, I don't want any of that in our marriage ceremony.
Yeah.
So,
yep. It is really hard. It is, okay. Are men in the AUB supposed to have the same personality as mainstream LDS are? Super outgoing, must be enthusiastic all the time. I feel like Cody was no, that's not how any men I knew growing up. Cody was not the norm. He was very happy all the time, very like, almost too much energy at points. He could become too much. That was not my experience with the majority of the people I knew. They were humble and
obedient,
righteous, and humble.
And they're trying to put off a righteous vibe.
Yeah.
So that the wives would be like, oh, this is going to be a good, they would study. This is why all this crap's in my head, that they would study the scriptures and try to quote scriptures and lure the women in with their knowledge of the gospel. So
right. I love this question. Why does the AUB promote multiple marriages yet doesn't provide any tools for healthy relationships? Sounds like most getting married young and all they're told is to provide kids, be quiet, and be small. That's the problem, is that they think that they are providing. They think that blessings will heal things. They think that scriptures will heal things. And then this is why we had so much hope for my dad that things would change. My dad has been through so many self-help classes
outside of the
AUB. And he actually did bring in some outside therapists into the AUB, some couples like therapists. And I feel like, I wasn't in agreement with those particular therapists. It's funny, Corey and I never fought in our relationship when we were first married. We never fought. We got along so well. One of our biggest knockout blowout fights was in this couples training. And because we just were like, it just threw our system off. And I felt like the teachings that they were trying to teach these couples were so messed up. And it made you hostile and angry. Well, it made me hostile and angry, and we took it out on each other.
Well, they give you advice from their point of view on on marriages, but they have every one of them, even every one of the prophets had issues within their marriages.
Mhm.
But they just didn't talk about that.
Right.
That's never spoke about. And so their advice is you need to pray more.
Yeah.
You need to get a blessing. You need to take if a husband's stepping out of line, then the priesthood leaders need to come in and fix that. If a wife won't listen to a husband, then he'll take her, and the priesthood leaders will guide her to listen to her priesthood head most of the time, unless they want her, and then they'll let her get released.
Right.
So,
and so they think they are providing tools, if
Yeah.
you will, but it's not. It's because they don't see the manipulation that comes along with some of those tools. We actually have on one of our screens, we have the conversation between Cody and
Mhm.
Robin paused from this last episode, and Robin whips out every single manipulative
Mhm.
tactic she can possibly do in this conversation. She goes from crying to blaming to shaming to love bombing. And that's how we are taught to communicate.
Mhm.
And you're taught to, if you don't know what to do, go to the nearest matriarch. She'll guide you, or she'll pray with you, or she'll do something like that. And that's really what it boils down to, is if you're still having a problem, you need to pray harder. You need to get closer to God. And when I watched her pull this minute, I was like stunned watching that conversation between the two of them, because she shamed the shit out of Cody right there. And then you could just see him deflated and defeated and just going, and then she comes back, oh no, it's okay. And then she love bombs the hell out of him. And then she's got tears. And so very manipulative. This is another reason I grew up with massive trust issues with women, because this is what they teach each other, is how to manipulate, how to control, how to get what you want, make sure your needs are met well above your sister wife's needs. Now, am I saying everyone in the AUB is this way? Absolutely not. Some people do have healthy levels of communication, but unfortunately, it's more the norm than it's not.
Well, and most of the women within the AUB would have just. That's the thing. The sister wives were lucky that they had this show, because it gave them financial ability to leave, and they got to see all of the manipulation that goes on. Most people within the AUB, they don't see all of this stuff going on in the family. They can feel it. They
know something's wrong. It
wrong.
doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to identify it.
But they're not watching clips of their sister wife undermining them.
Exactly.
And so, yes, they usually just sit back miserable and just trudge along, because they need to get into heaven. This life is short. And so when the husband says, hey, we're not having more kids, doing stuff like that, that's fine. I'll get a job or go to become a Relief Society president, or do something to keep their mind busy within the community and stuff like that, because he's raising the younger kids in there, and they just exist. So
yeah. Oh, son of a gun. Sorry, I was trying to click on that one comment there. There's two comments back to back I want to get right here. Random, not deep question. Did your second wedding feel more like a celebration of your family rather than just the two of you as a couple? I would say we decided to get married again when we did, because our oldest son was getting married, and we wanted them. We knew eventually we'd probably get remarried. We had started to work things through, and we wanted them to. There's an energy. When I left the AUB, it opened up permission for other people to leave the AUB in my family, because no one had ever done it before. And we wanted our kids to have that energy around them, that their parents were united and that we were together, and that they could step into a marriage with hope and with purpose. And so we wanted to provide that energy. And so we decided we didn't tell anybody that we were doing it. We just went downtown to the county recorder's office, or what, the judge's office, I don't remember. And we we scheduled an appointment. We just went down there and did it. And then we pulled our children together later to tell them, because we didn't want to overshadow our sons.
We were wanting to celebrate our son's
Right.
marriage.
And so when we went to their wedding, most people didn't even know that we had gotten remarried because it was about their wedding. But we just wanted to be a unit again, because there is something when you make that commitment to each other, there is an energy and about that. And so we just wanted that for our kids. So hopefully that makes sense.
Thanks,
and then I want to get this one other question really quick, and then we'll grab that question. Oh, come on. No. Oh, did I pass it? Right here. How do you come to terms with leaders in the family being reprimanded or punished for being rebellious? I'm curious if there's like somebody specific that that you're referring to.
Well, and that's the thing, the rebelliousness is when you question the leadership. And so how do you come to terms with it? You either quit being rebellious and be obedient, or you keep questioning and eventually leave. And so, but that it sucks. I know who she's talking about. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is it your dad?
Yeah. You and I were very considered rebellious. I mean, Dad wanted us to go a certain way and to act a certain way. And when we were rebellious and asked questions, it would frustrate him. So,
yeah. Thank you, Heather, for that super chat. Says, can you set up a PO box for us? Chapstick gifts. That's hilarious.
Yes, thanks,
We'd actually talked about setting up a PO box.
We'll get one set up.
Yeah, we'll work on that. That's in one of our, that is on our to-do list. We just haven't done it yet. Let's see. Rosa says the girls get a ton of lessons promoting polygamy. The boys get near as much as that. I think that, and then I really appreciate this comment from Jody Fuller. They are the frog being slowly boiled to death. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And you don't know what you don't know. And when this is all you're taught your entire life, you think this is what happiness is. That's why I was saying, when I was 20, I went to an accountability training, and I didn't even realize how dishonest I was. I thought I was an honest, integritable person, but I lied about my feelings all the time. I lied about my emotions all the time because that was what I was taught. I didn't know any different. And that's why when we have said we didn't believe that the sister wives came on and intentionally lied to the public, they were doing what they were taught their entire lives. Now people see that it was misrepresentation and kind of a lie.
Yeah. And here's another thing. If we were younger, what is marriage? What you'll find out. We were never really given education on we watched our parents, but we weren't given education. You'll go through the temple or the endowment house, and it all will be explained to you there.
Right.
Well, I'm like, I want to kind of know that information beforehand so I can prepare for it. And so I studied it, but most people go through the endowment house not even having a clue what goes on in there. And then you come out of that going, that's what, and really the ultimate goal of that is you are getting married before God and making a covenant that you will never break up that marriage. You
would rather give up your
life than to break up that marriage. You're making an oath and a covenant, and that's what they think that's it. Mm-hmm. All the other stuff is fluff. And so you just learn how to get along and get married if you're going to keep that oath and covenant at the risk of your own demise. So that's what you don't even know
what you're about to make all these severe promises to, and then you make them, and now if you break them, you're effed.
Yeah.
I want to answer this question.
Damn to hell.
Right.
Could lose your life in this life. So
I'm really sorry you both had to go through a difficult situation, but I'm so happy that you two found each other. Thank you.
Yep.
What's interesting for us is that we are actually, I wish there was an easier way for us to learn that lesson. the lessons that we've learned because we separated. But we are so grateful for the lessons that we learned, because it really turned into a situation you just don't know what you have until it's gone. My children didn't know how much they loved Corey until there was a risk of losing him as their father.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how much he loved them until there was a risk of.
I knew how much I loved them. It's just, was it an obligation? You know what I mean? We had great relationships, but was it an obligation because I married their mom? And it was like, no, hey, you're a good guy. We want you around. Even if you and mom are separating, we want to still be in your life. And they didn't have to.
Oh, and they were devastated over our divorce.
They didn't have to, because I was a stepfather in my mind, and they were like, no, you are an important part of our life. We love you. We want you to be in our life,
They
whether you're married or not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was so touching to me. That gave me a sense of belonging. And so, I am so thankful that we went through a divorce, because I would have never
realized your
trusted.
value.
Yeah, I would have never trusted my value. I would have discounted my value to them.
I feel like what it did for our family too is we don't take each other for granted anymore. We are so appreciative to be in each other's lives, and we adore the hell out of our grandchildren and everything, because we're just so grateful that we get to do grandchildren together, you know?
Yeah. Well, it was like, are we still family even if we get divorced? We are. Holy crap. So that was pretty amazing. Still an amazing realization that we still loved. They still loved me. It was, we still wanted to be considered a family, even though we were divorced. So,
and now we're a family by choice, not because we're obligated.
Not by obligation.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing to me is that survival of the wives is playing a game and stepping on the other women. Yep. But God frowns on people being unkind to each other. Very, it is very sad. And again, one of the reasons I did not realize how dishonest I was, because it was what I was taught to do. This is what how I was taught to treat other women, how they were taught to treat me.
And that is a thing. It is, we are taught to within the group that you shouldn't be unkind to each other. You know what I mean? Yet Robin thinks she is being kind to the other wives. She's an advocate for the other wives. Even though she's doing things that is causing harm within the family to the kids and to the wives, and she's causing separation, she feels like she is not unkind. She's doing it for their growth, for their benefit. And so she doesn't feel like she's being unkind. They are just unappreciative of everything she's done for them. That's the interesting part of how they get around the idea of, well, I'm not being unkind to anybody. I'm the most kind, the most shy, the most, and Cody's regurgitating her belief system. So that's, well, wait a minute, that felt unkind. Well, it's not. I'm just trying to help you grow. And so,
yeah, I saw a comment. Right here. Do you think Robin believes her own propaganda? 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. She's so self-indulged and self-righteous about it.
That's
what makes her so much more dangerous.
I'll give Robin a thread of I don't even know if I can. I don't know if I can.
I know. See, you try to give grace because you understand
she was raised in this environment from birth. Or quickly after. From her youth, she was raised in this environment within these teachings. And the interesting part is she has perfected it. I give her credit. She has perfected all of the belief systems. So when you look at Robin, her belief system is that she is living the perfect life, the perfect wife, the perfect sister wife, the perfect mother within the group based on the teachings and her belief system. And she's doing what she does to other people is for their growth and their benefit. So absolutely she believes it. and I won't give her grace for it.
And
So
when
she
when
needs to
she
wake
says,
up.
when Christine explains, I can't trust Robin because I would tell her something, she'd go to Cody, and then I would get in trouble like a chastised child. That is how the men treat these women. They are subject to the overlord's rule. And
The
then
priesthood
Robin's
rule.
like, I was just being a naive fool. I'm like, no, you weren't. You were being manipulative, and maybe she didn't recognize it as manipulation. I'll give her that much grace.
She did.
But I think she absolutely
She's
knew what she was
excusing
doing.
it.
She was doing what she was trained to do,
Yeah.
what she was raised to do, because
Yeah.
most polygamous women are raised this way, unfortunately.
Yeah. And what she's saying when she says that is Christine was a lost cause. And I was putting my nose into her business for her betterment.
And she
But
didn't
she
appreciate
didn't
it.
appreciate it, and she's a lost cause. And I should have just realized that that's my fault. I should have just realized she was a lost cause and not tried to help her. That's her attitude. That's what she's thinking when she's
Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Somebody asked if the state ever steps in. More and more, I feel like it was such a closed secret society for so long. And then there was just so much rampant abuse between, sexual SA abuse, a bunch of that kind of stuff that was happening. And Owen Allred finally hit a point where he was just like, turn it into the state. Like, we have to start cooperating with the state because it's getting out. It's so out of control. I would say 1 in every 3 girls was being molested. And it was horrible. And most of the leadership were the problem. And that's what I said to my dad one time. I'm like, Dad, do you guys even pray who you put on your leadership? Because all your leaders are a bunch of molesters and predators. And he was like, oh my gosh, yes, we do, Melanie. He got so mad at me about saying that. But I'm like, okay, well, some of your leaders are now in prison. They've gone to jail for what they've done. And so, yeah, it's really, the abuse is extremely deep. And now I feel like we don't even talk about the psychological abuse, because that's they don't look at that as abuse. They just look at that as that's normal. That's how you control people. That's how you create a society.
Well, when you look back at the history of the prophets of not only the AUB, but the LDS Church, when you have righteous men, holy men that are being told that they should marry a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old, it creates in the mind of many people within the culture that, hey, I can look, if the prophet's looking at a 15 or 16-year-old, I should be able to too. And so, and what does this religion attract? Other men who, hey, if the prophets are doing it and I can do it. And so until they start to teach that, no, you cannot marry somebody. You shouldn't even be looking at people young ladies this age to marry. You should wait until they're 18 and have an education and or think for themselves. Until they start to preach that over the pulpit, then it's going to continue to happen.
Right.
So it is.
All right. I want to pull this one up here.
Well, and they'll probably teach it over the pulpit until they start believing it and not allowing it to happen within their community, because other people are listening to that over the pulpit and going, oh, well, he said that. He said you shouldn't be marrying a 15-year-old. But when you allow, or when you yourself marry a 15-year-old, then you're setting an example. So
right.
I think
it's understandable to default lying when it's normalized to be abused by parents that want everyone to be blindly obedient. Yeah, it is. And I wanted to read this one, but the comment's too far up. Sorry. So I'm just going to read it off instead of putting it on the screen. It says, off topic, but I'm so stoked for your ayahuasca video. I've never heard of it before, so I hope you can share reputable places in the US to seek out. One of the things we were talking about today with this, we were talking with another creator about our experience. one of the things that we talked about is the reason we looked into ayahuasca was we knew that we needed additional help because we didn't have the tools to keep our marriage together the second time. But we knew we wanted to, right? And we didn't want to project and take the traumas that we've experienced. We've already done that to our children. Well, we had a grandbaby at the end of 2019, and we did ayahuasca for the first time in 2020. When I met the day she was born, and I went into the hospital and I saw her, I literally felt like this wave of energy come over me. And I was like, I have to do something different. I can't hope that I've healed enough that she's not affected.
Yeah.
And we have to do something more than this. We cannot take any of this cult mentality and put that on this child because she's just too amazing.
Shame, fear, all the stuff we were raised with.
So I had already been looking into ayahuasca, but it was a really scary step. And so that just made me deep dive. So she was born in September of 2019, and we did our first ayahuasca experience in October of 2020. And she was the main motivating factor for me. It's like, I don't care what I have to do. I'll be as uncomfortable as I ever have to be so that I can make sure that this child is protected from, with my other children, the best I could do is remove them from the cult and then learn to do something different.
Yep.
But with our grandchild, it's like, we have to get rid of this completely so that we can be better grandparents. We can show up for her differently. So that's what motivated us to do ayahuasca. So we've done ayahuasca 5 times now. And the company that we went to was called Soul Quest, and it was in Florida, and it was legal. There was doctors, there was nurses. It was very regulated because we are very concerned about safety, and but they have since shut down. And there's a bunch of YouTube videos that if you wanted to go and look at that, go and look them up.
And I just found out too, you can talk to
Oh yeah, because you
I've
found that out today, huh?
I've got family members that were looking into it, and it's kind of cool because we have done therapy. So my dad was a Vietnam veteran. He decided at the later part of his life that he was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah.
So a lot of times within the community, you don't go outside looking for therapy. You talk to but a lot of my family that have left the AUB have went and got therapy from licensed therapists, and you can have a conversation with that licensed therapist and ask them if there's any get a reputable somebody that they recommend that they're doing studies on these different kinds of plant medicines, and they will probably point you in a great direction in your state, or that is doing it based on your state's legal laws. So it is a pretty cool thing. So you can actually talk to your therapist and or doctor, and they will probably point you in a safe, regulated.
Yeah, we highly recommend do your research.
Place,
do your research. Do your research. We cannot say that enough. I say be safe, do your research so that you know that wherever you're going to do whatever it is you're doing is compliant with the law. And but yeah, there's a couple of resorts down in South America that I would like to go to one of them. Mm-hmm. And we were signed up to go to that one, and then the pandemic happened, and Corey wasn't comfortable going out of the country. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't comfortable going out of the country to do ayahuasca at all. Mm-hmm. And then we found Soul Quest, and that was it was great. They did you worked with them before you went in there. They had a special diet that you would follow. And so we were very adamant about all of those things. We followed the diet to a T. And we spoke with a psychologist and a therapist before we ever went out there. Yep. And there's doctors on site, nurses on site. So just do your research. So yeah. I wanted to read this one. North Van, it's just too far back, so I apologize. I can't put it up on the screen. But North Van Amy says, have you seen the show called Seeking Sister Wife? It is a popular show that really takes polygamy lightly, and it seems so dangerous. Do I know any of the couples? So we've been asked a few times if we'll cover that show. We won't cover that show because I think that show is very detrimental and it can really harm people because it is taken so lightly. And we don't relate to that show at all because we were raised for a religious purpose to live this way.
Yeah.
That's just a lifestyle that people want to live, and that's great. Like, they can do whatever they want. No judgment there. It's just not, we just didn't come from that background. We were doing it because, or we were taught that it was a religious thing.
Yeah.
Seeking Sister Wives, yes, we did know a couple of the couples that were on there, and so we did know two different
the
families
first
that were on
season.
then.
We only saw the first season, and I only kind of watched it to see how the people we knew were trying to get a sister wife, see if that worked. But no, I know nothing. To be honest with you, I don't recommend polygamy as a lifestyle just from a kid's point of view. It didn't feel healthy to me.
Right.
But if somebody can pull it off out there and they can do it and it's great, then awesome. I don't want to judge anybody on their lifestyle.
Yeah.
If they can do it, great. But as a kid growing up in it and bringing in wives and wives leaving, and it I don't know, I didn't enjoy it as a kid. I wish I'd been raised differently.
Right.
But that's just my opinion and the way I was raised. If somebody else can do it, if they come together and they're a great group of people and they have the common goal and love the kids and everything's great, awesome. More power to you. I haven't seen a healthy version of it.
Right.
The healthiest version I've ever seen, they became a TV show, was
the Browns.
The Browns, and you can see how it worked out. It doesn't work out. So, and again, I saw the Seeking the Sister Wives, and some of the stuff at the end, people were leaving and all, and there's kids involved in that, and that can't be. I don't know. It could be. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a kid that grew up in this. So it wasn't healthy for me. So.
Yeah. I want to get to this question too. So Blessed Canadian says, question, wearing the garments if wearing the garments were your protection from the big bad world, how did the leadership justify the evil that happens to those in the religion if and when challenged? I have asked myself that question so many times because so many of the leadership that were doing some of the abuses were wearing garments when they did it. And that's supposed to be like a remembrance or protection and I don't understand that. And hopefully I never understand, because I never want to have a mind that is that evil. So I hope that I never do understand that. But I've asked myself that same question. You know, I was very abused by my grandpa, who went through the temple and wore garments while he was abusing all of his granddaughters. And somehow in his mind, that was okay for him. So I don't understand it either. And and truthfully, thank God that I don't, because I just never want to understand that. I know I'm trying to catch up on the comments. I even slowed the comments down. Bobby Dunlap, thank you so much for that super chat. It says, in the SDA cult I was raised in, I experienced and witnessed a lot of female perpetrated abuse, especially towards female children. Does this happen in the AUB? Thank you. Love what you do, fellow cult kid. Psychologically abused? Yes, I agree. I don't know about any other physical abuses. I mean, yes, there was disciplinary abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual, though, I don't know about that. I have heard of some, but it's not as common, I would say. And
it happens.
I'm sure that it does happen, unfortunately, but most of it is psychological and physical, like disciplinary abuse. And that is rampant, especially because women get angry with other women. And who do they take it out on? Their children. And so we have said from day one that children are the collateral damage in this religion. And it is very true. And it's not even that these women are trying to be bad people. It's just, I'm mad at you. I'm so you're feeling emotions at such a level, and you're never taught to regulate your emotions. And your nervous system is never regulated because you're always walking on eggshells in this religion. And so you're feeling these intense, intense emotions that you don't know what to do with. And I have literally watched with my own eyes one of my other mothers beat the living hell out of one of my mom's daughters. And I watched that and I was enraged. And it was like I saw a rage and a violence in this woman that I didn't even know that a person could do towards a child. And she beat the crap out of my little sister. And I attribute a lot of that to she was angry with my mom. And so, yes, there is that type of abuse that happens. I would say a huge portion of it is psychological more than anything. I feel like, now McKelty might feel different, but I feel like we watched Robin do that with McKelty. You see the psychological manipulation and abuse, and you see some of the psychological damage, and then that child is left wondering, was I valuable enough? Was she my friend because she saw value in me, or was I a pawn?
Weak? Yeah.
Or was I too, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or was I too weak? And am I a pawn in her story? And so that really messes with the psyche of children. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up on the comments. They just keep coming. Dinah Fazar, thank you so much. It says, why do you feel abuse is such a normal thing in the AUB? You all do amazing work. Thank you. Because it's all we ever knew growing up. It was taught. It was just normal.
It's doctrinal. You spare the rod, you spoil the child. They're wanting to raise up righteous children, and it's almost a doctrine that to raise up these children, you have to discipline them and guide them and brainwash them, guide them, whatever it is. But it's doctrinal teaching that you should discipline your children. Whether that's getting spanked, timeout, whatever you feel like it is. But when they say spare the rod, spoil the child, it doesn't mean spare the timeout. It's spare the rod. I mean, they believe in physical punishment to guide those children to being obedient or not to be loud or whatever it is, to listen to your guidance as a parent. And so if your kid's being disobedient or doing something and you're wanting to show them that they need to step in line, then it's okay to go in there and spank them or do it. And as the kids get older and ask more questions or are absolutely disobedient, I don't believe in that, I don't want to follow that teaching, then it is more encouraged to discipline that kid before he or she becomes too rebellious.
Right.
Because once they're 18 and moving out or on their way, you can't control them. So
yep. And that goes right along with this comment. It's sad that children can't really ask questions and gain understanding. I think it's fun that they have each other, but so many other things are sad.
Yeah. And you can ask a question, but if they give you the answer, well, this is what the scripture says, or this is what our family requires you to do, and you go, well, I don't want to do that, and you're disobedient, then you're in trouble. And it depends on what that punishment is, what they feel that punishment should be done. So
yeah,
I was spanked.
I wouldn't say I was spanked. I would say I was beaten.
Time out. I had welts, so I was disciplined very, very well.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to sound ignorant, but who said that people have to be in a polygamous marriage just to go to heaven? Is that from Joseph Smith?
Not to heaven. The AUB, the Mormons believe in levels of heaven. So if you're a good person, you can be in the telestial kingdom in heaven.
Mhm.
Good people go to the telestial kingdom of heaven, and where they are servants, where they're in school learning how to work their way up, and they figure that the teaching is basically what we can do here as humans in 100-year lifespan will take thousands of years in heaven to learn. So might as well learn it here in heaven or here on earth. But if you have he brought forth the new and eternal covenant of marriage in section 132 of the Doctrine and Covenants. It says you have to have 3 wives to get into the celestial kingdom, the highest kingdom of heaven. And so we're not down here just to get into the lowest kingdom of heaven, trying to stay out of hell, but you don't want to get into just the lowest kingdom of heaven. Everybody's going to make it in. You want to get into the highest kingdom of heaven where you become a god, and those that are working towards it will be your servant, your students that you teach how to get into heaven. So they call it servants. A lot of them teach them as students or what have you, but servants in heaven.
Is there a lot of physical fights between sister wives? I have, yes.
My experience, yes.
Yes.
So yes.
Beat a bitch.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah.
In my experience growing up, there were. I joked about it. This is the polite version of polygamy. The sister wives is polite version. Our families was more of the MMA version of polygamy. So there could be strong language talk back and forth, but sometimes those devolved into physical altercations. So
I've heard of sister wives dragging other sister wives down the stairs. I've heard of them going, like, literally walking in on a sister wife and her husband in the act of intimacy and yanking the woman off her husband. And I mean, there's some pretty brutal fights that I have heard of, and they're not pretty.
Yeah.
So, okay. So blessed Canadian. Thank you so much. It says, give any man on this earth too much power and they will commit evil. Mm-hmm. And I 100% believe that. I believe that so many of these men go into this life, this religion with the best of intentions, but then they get the sense of power, and they get the sense of, they're gods and they're kings to their wives and their children, and they become infallible. They believe that they're infallible. And then they don't get questioned because they're the head of the family. And so it goes straight to their head and they turn it into evil. Yes.
And they will justify their actions by another prophet within their scriptures. They'll even go back to the Bible or to the Book of Mormon to justify their actions. Well, this prophet or this leader did this, and I was doing it also in that mindset or intention. Mm-hmm. And so they justify their actions based off of some scriptural doctrinal reading, mm-hmm. or even past prophets, what they have done, mm-hmm. what they have said. And so this is why I went back and said, no, I was taught that these prophets were way better or good men and stuff like that. So I'd go back and study it and went, oh, they are justifying their actions right now based off what Joseph Smith did or what King David did or whatever actions they felt justified to do. They're basing it off some scriptural reading of it. And I went, okay, I'm done. I'm done with all of their prophets, scriptures, all of that stuff, because they use those scriptures to justify their actions,
to justify their behavior. Yep.
Even though there's other scriptures that say you shouldn't do that.
Yep.
They don't care. They saw their scripture that justified their action.
Yep.
Sorry to be.
I'm sorry if this is a sensitive topic or seems rude, but were you ever angry at your mom for not intervening your dad beating you as a mother? I just couldn't imagine. Oh yeah, my mom's on here too. We've had many a discussion about this. In fact, I remember one time when I was getting beat. We were all lined up and my dad was beating us all, and my brother and sister had burned. They had been lighting paper on fire and running it across to the kitchen to the sink, and they burned a bunch of stuff. But I had a newborn. I had a baby that I was taking care of. But because I was in charge, I got beat too, even though I didn't actively participate in the activity. Now, I'm only 17 months older than my sister who's underneath me. And I remember standing there waiting for my beating. And I said to my mom, this is wrong. Why are you letting this happen? And my mom's like, sorry, there's nothing I can do. He's your father. And so she felt like her hands were tied just as much. And I remember just raging at her thinking, you're the worst human I know. And so we've had these conversations. And of course, now she would go back and change that. Of course, she has apologized to me over and over. And we've done some really good healing over it. But I remember being enraged because I was like, this is unfair. And yet you're still allowing this to happen, because I didn't do anything wrong other than be in charge of a baby that didn't take a bottle. She was breastfed only. And I'm struggling, and I was probably 10, maybe 11 when this happened. And I just remember, and this is just one example, I know. And sorry, Mom, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm not trying to offend you, but these are just some of the things that happen. Now, would my mom go back and change all of that? Absolutely. She is she's so remorseful over these things, and she wishes but she was doing what she was indoctrinated to do, which was follow her priesthood head.
Yeah.
Do what the leader of her family told her to do. And this is what he told her to do.
And trying to,
keep peace.
Keep peace. Yeah. Raise righteous children. This is our goal. This is what we're supposed to do. Kids get spanked. Kids get, it just happens. So kids get abused. So
yeah. And so, yes, a lot of these women are just as abused or just as indoctrinated. That's why when people say, do you think Robin believes what she's saying? Yeah, I absolutely think she believes what she's saying. Corey, can you tell us a news story about your dad's wives? There's so many that are so like, oh, shoot. No?
I should tell. No, I'm trying to think. Let me come up with a good one. That's the thing. Kerners are amazing because they hear something goes on and then they have to make it funnier than it actually was. So
yeah. Oh, somebody says, does the AUB believe in the 10 Commandments? Because I would like to know how they misinterpreted the whole adultery thing. They don't consider it adultery because they're married.
Yeah, because they're going through the prophets within the Bible had multiple wives. They justify it that way. So and which set of 10 Commandments? There's multiple sets of 10 Commandments written different ways too, and so they'll just pick the 10 Commandments that they want to follow. So
right.
And so when you say, well, you're committing adultery because you have 3 wives, no, we're not. I'm married to each one of them. They're all my wives. Just like King David had multiple wives, just like you can quote all of the different prophets within the Bible that had multiple wives, even though there's phrases in there that say you should cleave unto one wife. Well, that's not the one we're going to follow. You can pick and choose. You pick and choose your own religion. They're all in here. They're all, so we're going to justify us having multiple wives based off not only that prophets within the Bibles had multiple wives, but that our newest prophet or Joseph Smith said that this was the only way you're going to get into heaven. And you have to go through this special ordinance and promise certain things with that wife to get into heaven. And so they consider themselves not committing adultery, that they're actually married to each and every one of them. And if they accidentally mess around with a wife before they go through and get that, well, God promised her in heaven, so
She was her spiritual
she
wife
was
anyways.
spiritual
It's
wife
totally
anyhow.
fine.
So no need to look too deep into what was happening on the hood of that car, because eventually we got into that temple and we took the oath and the covenants, and she was my wife, promised right from the beginning. I should have married her at the beginning. So.
Yep. And this is true, Purple. Thank you. If your mom stepped in, it would have been worse for her and for the kids. And mom, no shame about it. My mom says, I'm sorry. My mom did a sad face. No shame, mom. We've already talked about all of these, but yeah, these women did the best that they could under the stressful circumstances. And again, they were living with dysregulated nervous systems. There's no way that you can make rational, healthy decisions when you're constantly living in a state of fight or flight. And that is the state that most of these people live in.
And here, I'll give you a kind of an example. My dad, every time I was being disciplined, sat down and talked to me of why I was being disciplined. So we had a conversation, and then I took my discipline. He thought he was doing better than the way he was raised, where he didn't even get a conversation before he got disciplined. And so he was living and raising children better than he actually thought he had been raised. He was trying to do better than his parents did for him.
Yeah.
And so with me, he thought he was doing better. He'd have a conversation with me. He'd still discipline me. But I understood why I was getting disciplined. And sometimes I would argue or do something that I knew I was going to get disciplined for, and I was willing to take that punishment to do what I wanted to do, to stand up to him. And eventually we worked everything out. So, when my dad passed, I had a good relationship with him. We didn't agree on everything. Some of my attributes that I have as a father, I have taken from him. Some of the attributes that I removed. I was like, I do not want to raise my children that way.
Yeah.
So I want to have a conversation and talk with them, and then not thump the crap out of them to prove my point. So I want to have mutual respect with my kids. So.
Right. Well, and one thing too I wanted to say is that I feel like my mom knew when I started speaking out a couple of years ago that things were going to get hard, because she's going to hear things she doesn't want to hear. Stories are going to get brought up that are going to be cringeworthy. I have done it to my kids too. I hear stuff that I'm like, oh, are you sure that it happened that bad? And so, but where I want to acknowledge my mom right now is the fact that she sees it and she's apologized for it. Most of these women never see it, or they justify it with, it's part of the religious, sorry, I was just doing the best I could. Don't know what you want from me. And so at least my mom has acknowledged a lot of this, and her and I have had, I would say, I'll just publicly declare this. My mom has been my best friend most of my life. Even when I wanted to strangle her out and knock her out, we have still been, she's been my number one confidant out of most of I've never had girlfriends because I don't trust them, but I can trust my mom because she'll acknowledge what was wrong, what happened was wrong. And most women in this religion just don't do that unless they leave the religion. My mom was acknowledging it for years before she actually decided to leave. So again, we do the best we can with what we know at the time. And when we know better, we will do better. And that is where I guess I want people to, I need to remember this more, because I do tend to be more judgmental towards the women in this religion. I don't give them a lot of grace.
And that's
for
that
reason.
My dad, when we talked, it was, hey, I just wanted to be a better dad I wanted to be better than, and I hope you're a better dad than I am. And I pass that right on to my boys, my kids. I want them to be a better dad and a better parent than I was. So always trying to get better. So
I didn't mean to click on that comment, but it's hilarious. I feel like Christine could throw down. Robin would get mildly hurt and cry immediately. That's hilarious. That's a funny comment. I actually meant to go to this one.
don't know if Robin can actually cry. I've yet to see a tear. There might be some.
Does anyone think Robin's relationship with Mykelti was done to purposely drive a wedge between Christine and Mykelti? Again, I feel like in my own experience, because I had an experience with another mother just like Robin, I feel like this is where Robin believes her own what propaganda, whatever you want to call it, is that she believed she saw a child in need. She believed that she could help that child. And if it caused a wedge between that child and her mom, bonus. But I don't think she went into that with that intention. I think that she genuinely wanted to try to do good, and it did do good. Mykelti needed somebody to hear her and see her, and she felt heard and seen, regardless of what the outcome was or even the intention behind it. Mykelti felt heard and she felt seen, and that's what she needed at that time. And so again, this is where I feel like we were raised to believe a certain thing, and I didn't know how dishonest I was until I went through one of my classes, and I went, oh my gosh, my intentions are not pure. My intentions are not good. If I really took a step back and went, and so I don't think Robin's ever come to that realization. I think that she's still in the belief system of what she's doing is the right thing all the time. She hasn't taken a step back and self-evaluated and said, were my intentions really pure? Were they really for the betterment of this child and that's it? Or was it to cause manipulation? And I don't think it was necessarily to even drive a wedge between Christine and Mykelti. I think it was to gain favor with Cody. Because look what I'm doing. I'm loving one of your wayward children. I'm showing up for one of your wayward children. Do you love me more now because look what I'm doing for your family? That's where I think more of the intention would have been than it would be. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. I'm going to try to catch up here. Oh, do you see anything? No. Oh, somebody said that, Catherine. Thank you. Somebody says, love to you, Chalice. You are a moral person for being able to acknowledge that. When you know better, you do better. Exactly. When we know better, we do better. I feel like you see that with Christine when she's left the church and she is doing things differently with her children now than she did when she was in the church. Because when you know better, you do better. Let's see. I want to get to this question right here too. Even slowing down the comments, we talked so much about one answer that we forget. Okay, I see the name here, but then I can't find it here. Oh, right here. It's so insidious how Mormonism twists women into believing their marriages dictate how their children are treated. If you are a true believer, you might think intervening would cause escalation. That is very true. I feel like if you are a true believer and you follow your priesthood head, you allow him to lead. And if leading means he's beating his children, then you are a true believer if you follow him. And so I very much agree with that comment. Do you see any? So many religions cherry pick the Bible and the Bible contradicts itself over. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know very many. Even the Book of Mormon contradicts itself. Well, most of it stolen from the Bible anyhow, but yeah. But yeah, all of the scriptures even within the Mormon culture, the Mormon teachings, holy crap, they only had their teachings for a few years before they started contradicting it, changing it. So we're all living polygamy. Polygamy's amazing. Everybody's got to live polygamy. Wait a minute, we're not living polygamy anymore. Now it's illegal, so nobody should be living polygamy. You're going to be excommunicated from polygamy. So they get their scriptures and then they start to change them. And so it's really, you get to pick and choose which prophet you want to follow, which scriptural line you want to pull out and justify your actions for. And so
I appreciate this comment too. It says it's so jarring to hear grown women say they would get in trouble. Is that kind of a slang that has more specific meaning. If you're in the AUB community, I have no context for what that could mean. No, it means they're going to get in trouble. They're going to get grounded. They're going to get their privileges taken away. That is how
he's not going to come around.
Yeah.
They're
your
going to be
privilege
on
of
their
his
own.
of his presence will be removed from you.
He might be more frustrated with
Yeah.
your kids and take something out on your kids too. And so you're wanting to be in good standing
Yeah.
with him, good peace with him, so that the kids don't get disciplined because the mother's being disobedient. And that maybe you're supporting that mother and saying, no, I think she's right here. And then you're in trouble too. So yeah, growing up, those Robin's right. Those eggs are dropping everywhere. Everybody's walking around on eggshells because at one moment or time, somebody within the home, some wife could be frustrated and you don't know what you're walking into. You don't know the whole story. And so you walk in smiling the wrong way and you're going to get yelled at.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love this one. Non-Mormon teaches Sarah was sinning by offering Hagar to Abraham. She didn't have enough faith that God would bless her with a child. Thanks for explaining the Mormon version. We didn't know that. So that is the polygamous version. And I saw a comment up there that said, God had Adam and Eve, not Adam and Barbara and a bunch of other names. But thank you, Rosa, for answering that, because she answered it exactly like I would have answered it. In the fact that in the Mormon church, in the polygamous church, Eve is basically a position for any woman, multiple women. We're all Eves. We're all working mothers. To become mothers. Yeah. And so,
so it says in the Bible that it was Adam and Eve, but they're like, well, it says it's only Adam and Eve. And then they're like, well, wait a minute, but Adam and Eve had 3 sons. How did they get married? Oh, so the Mormons or the polygamists explain that as, well, Adam and Eve were the leaders, and that a whole group of Adam and Eves came down and they all had multiple wives and they started society.
Yeah.
And so Adam and Eve are just a position, a name place on there. So
yeah, and that's what we were always taught, that it's a position, and to fulfill the law of Sarah, you bring in it. So, and I've explained this on a couple of different lives where it's always the last wife who gives the new wife to the husband, thus fulfilling the law of Sarah. And
giving her the opportunity to fulfill the law.
Yeah, giving her the opportunity. And so she's the one who takes that new wife's hand, puts it in the husband's hand in the marriage ceremony.
The last wife's the only one that doesn't get to fulfill the law of Sarah.
That's why you don't want to be the last wife. Yeah. That is another reason why Robin would live polygamy, is because by golly, she wants to live that. She wants to
fulfill that law of Sarah.
Exactly. I'm trying to find this comment too. Right here. I would love to know your thoughts on whether you think Robin intends to stay with Cody, or do you think she is getting ready to leave or kick Cody out? It looks like trouble in paradise to me.
It's only our opinion, but yeah, based on growing up in the community, based on the behavior, he's lost 3 wives already. And based on her dogma that she continues to speak, that she has only wanted to live polygamy, that Cody promised her that she would live polygamy. You're hearing it from her own mouth. What is she saying on national TV? And her whole goal was to live polygamy. That was something he promised her. She's telling you as the audience, through Robin speak, through the polygamous speak, that unless he gets her into the kingdom of heaven, he has not kept his promise. So why wouldn't she be looking around? Why wouldn't her eggs be dropping for another prophet, seer and revelator within the AUB who can get her into heaven? So yeah. Has she pulled the trigger yet? No. Is she preparing? From my opinion, yes, she is. Yep. So is Cody worried? He is telling you right there on TV, yes, I'm worried. Am I going to be enough? he's asking those questions because he's made promises to her, and she keeps bringing up those promises that he would be a polygamist and get her into the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
Well, are you going to be satisfied with
No, you fool, you can't get me into heaven anymore.
yeah, are you going to be satisfied with being a monogamous? And she's like, well, I'm really scared. Well, that's not an answer. He's wanting an answer from her that she's going to stay with him, and
she won't give
that's
it
the
to
only
him.
answer I can give you.
And that's a
I'm
huge red
scared.
flag.
So yeah, what is she telling you? She's telling you all of that right there on the screen. So yeah,
Yep.
she's preparing. So.
All right, Lindsay says, if you can handle scary, you should watch the show Midnight Mass. Fantastic
It's awesome.
dissection of religion versus being a good person. I've never seen it. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen that. We will have to.
It's a great show.
Yeah,
I like that whole. There's a bunch of different ones that whole group puts out. Nice scary movies. So
yeah,
you saw the Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, is it something similar to that?
I think they're the same people that do it. So.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So we'll answer a few more questions that we've been going for 2 hours, and we have a birthday dinner to go to for a little guy who turned 7.
My grandson.
Yep. He is getting so big. So we are going to go head. Okay.
He's growing up too quick.
I know. He was just a little
Feels
guy.
like he was just barely born.
Especially before internet, how were teachings, proclamation, whatnot communicated through the community when it was so common to only have church with your family rather than a congregation?
Studying the scriptures.
Yeah, I'll answer this in a couple of different ways. They mailed hard mail. Especially if the prophet had like a revelation or something like that, they would hard mail stuff to each other so that every community had it. But people would say, how did Robin go to church with these guys in the AUB? Because they are so spread out everywhere, because people were afraid of the police coming in and taking families apart. So they're spread all over the place. So it's very common. The main central hub of the church is in Salt Lake, about 15 minutes from our house. And then you've got Montana, you've got Cedar City, you've got St. George area, you've got southern, you've got Mexico, you've got central Utah. So they're all over the place. So it's very common for a lot of them to travel to Utah or to Salt Lake City once a year to do what is called conferences. The LDS Church does them twice a year. The AUB does them once a year. And that is where the main bulk of like the new and upcoming teachings are taught. And then people are given out pamphlets. I don't know what you'd call them, but.
Well, and within the AUB, most communities had a council member that was guiding that church, that would guide that community in church session. And those council members would come down here, meet with the prophets, and then if there was new teachings or new guidance, take them back to their community to teach. In the 70s and 80s, it was the phone tree was the internet. Everybody was connected with everybody on the phone tree. That was the gossip line. There'd be a phone call come up and this is what's going on.
Phone trees
were amazing. And so we knew who was sick, who you needed to pray for, all of that stuff. The newest gossip, so-and-so was excommunicated or left or stuff like that. And then it would be a little fireside to talk about the newest gossip that went through the AUB. So yeah, phone trees were an amazing way of communicating within the communities. So,
and I know I've seen several, like something will be taught and said, and then it's all put together in a packet, stapled, put in an envelope, and mailed to the different communities. So
they could read what the prophet's new revelation or new guidance was to everybody.
Right. Thank you so much, Catherine, it says, happy birthday to your little one. He's now getting big enough. So Corey's been a coin collector his whole entire life. And when the kids get big enough, we have been giving them like their first penny books and their first set of pennies. He's having his big birthday party on Saturday. So my mom will be up here for that. And because it's really my mom's grandchild. It's just we stepped in as pseudo grandparents since my mom lives so far away. But that's what we're going to give him this year is a couple penny books and couple 100 pennies to sort through them with him and to start organizing his little penny books. So I love that he's getting so big. It's just, it has come by so fast. What were you saying?
I like that one. Nicole's Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so
Nicole
much.
Aggie. You're always such a good support to our family
Yep.
or to our channel. It says 276 likes as you leave. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hyper. As it becomes a video, check out the merch.
Hype it.
Yeah. Oh, hype it. Yes.
Yep.
Corey even puts cosmetics on there. All my chapsticks. I think we've made like $30 because you guys are so great and bought chapsticks.
Yep.
I think it's insane. I love that. So yeah, so we're gonna head out and go see this little guy for his birthday because he's just such a handsome little man and we just adore him. And truthfully, when we got back together, he was born in 2018. He was really the band-aid that healed us so much too, because we remembered how much we loved being parents together. And we remember, and all of a sudden we had this little human that loved us, and we kept him every day for about 3 years. We had him pretty much every day. I quit working full time and became like his nanny or babysitter or whatever. They'd bring him out to our house, and so he healed us in a way that we didn't even know that we needed. And so we just have such a love for him because he showed us that we love being grandparents together. So thank you all for joining us on this last minute live. Did you have something else?
Yeah, just Jay Patel. I didn't take any of Alice's teachings to heart at all. I resisted everything she taught. So
oh yes,
I do want to clarify that I grew up near, but not under any of their teachings or rules or laws. So
right.
I resisted so many of the teachings I grew up with. So did my sister on here. We were labeled rebellious. And so we met with the rod many a time. So
yeah,
it was a great experience, bonded us as brother and sister and children. So
yeah. So, but we will be dropping our recap of episode 6. We'll be dropping that tomorrow. So watch for that. And everybody have a great night. Thank you so much for joining us.